Joining me today is Matthew Hoh, Senior Fellow for the Center for International Policy and former U.S. Marine officer and U.S. State Department official. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
First of all, how effective do you feel the current strategies in Afghanistan are in reducing the threat of terrorism in the area?
I think the first thing we have to do is make sure we're talking about terrorism and not the civil war in Afghanistan. I think that against Al-Qaeda and its affiliates in that part of the world, we've had some very great successes. Obviously the killing of Osama bin Laden and the killing of a number of senior Al-Qaeda officials. But unfortunately, the organization Al-Qaeda and its affiliates have evolved. They've morphed into a very flat, near virtual type organization that relies upon individuals and small cells spread throughout the world. So while the victories we've had have been good, however, we have to understand the organization as it exists is not tied to that one geographic piece of terrain. And so we have to keep that in mind as we go forward in combating terrorism. And again, to get back to my first point, realizing that the civil war in Afghanistan is not the same thing as fighting terrorism.
What do you feel is the current state of the war in Afghanistan, and what are the implications on countries involved, such as Australia? I
see the war in Afghanistan as being in a stalemate. The United States is committed politically to withdrawing through 2014. I think that has weakened the prospects for political settlement. I think our escalation of the war the last several years has failed. It has weakened the Karzai government. It has actually strengthened the insurgency. It has fractured the camp that formerly supported the Karzai government. That old Northern Alliance camp is now fractured, and now they are, as they see the United States preparing to leave, by 2014, entrenching and trying to keep the gains that they've made, which makes them resistant to talking and reaching some type of settlement with the insurgency. And on the same vein, the insurgency has withstood the surge of American and ISAF forces over the last couple of years. That has strengthened the hardliners within the insurgency, and so they're willing to talk and negotiate now, but they don't have to. So I think we're in a very difficult place right now with regards to Afghanistan. I think prospects for settlement in Afghanistan are very poor right now if we continue with the same policies, if we continue with a policy that basically makes the United States and the ISAF forces belligerents rather than mediators.
What counterterrorism strategies have been effective, and what do you feel is the way forward in the region?
We've had some real successes, as I spoke earlier. We killed Osama bin Laden. We've killed other leaders. But like I said, the terrorist groups have morphed. So when I look back and I think, what was really successful was really successful when we worked with the Pakistanis, when we had a relationship with the Pakistanis. Right now, our relationship with the Pakistanis is terrible. There almost is no relationship. But if you recall, 7-8 years ago, when we captured senior Al-Qaeda officials, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or Abu Zubaydah, for example, those are all with Pakistani cooperation. So I think what's important for us going forward is to try and rebuild that relationship. Not that our interests are going to align with Pakistan's, not that we're going to become allies, but that we can at least have some type of business-like relationship with the Pakistanis, so that we can jointly pursue terrorists that don't just threaten the West, but also threaten Pakistani stability and the welfare of that state. So going forward, I think repairing, and the same thing is true for Afghanistan. Whatever Afghanistan looks like in 4 or 5 years, it's in the interest for the United States and the West to be on good terms with those who are in power in Afghanistan, and that's something we have to start doing now in order to achieve cooperation in counterterrorism efforts in the future.
Matt, you'll be speaking at the 10th Anniversary National Security Australia Conference 2012 on the 29th of February and the 1st of March in Melbourne. What will be the highlight of your presentation?
What I'd like to highlight and focus on is the counterproductive nature that we've seen our Afghan policy and now in other parts, I think, of the globe, of conflating localized insurgencies that have legitimate grievances with a broader specter of international terrorism. So this idea of pushing these local insurgent groups, these groups that have legitimate grievances, pushing them or providing them with no other choices but to align themselves with or receive backing from international terrorist groups. It's a very counterproductive policy, and it's failing us in terms of one, providing stability in various parts of the world, but two, in also marginalizing and disenfranchising terror groups.
Matthew Hoh, thanks very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in Melbourne.
Terrific. Thank you.